Hi children, welcome back to my second chapter. We are going to learn about Pascal programming, about identifiers. So today's lesson is all about identifiers, how identifiers are declared and assigned and processed during the life cycle of a programming. So before I start my lesson, let me take you to the life cycle of an identifier. Here you can see a picture of a life cycle of an identifier. Identifiers. Identifiers are divided into two sections or two categories. They are known as variables and constants. Second, the declaration of a variable. It is important that you declare a variable at the beginning of the programming. So here you will find var is a keyword used in Pascal programming, and I have an identifier named as a, which is equal to a data type of an integer, and each line I have made sure that a semicolon is placed before I go to the next line, meaning that the compiler which reads these instructions will identify that there is an end line and it goes back to the next line number 2. Example line number 2, var a again, a real. Now what is an integer? Integer is a whole number, and excuse me, a real is a decimal number, and there is another variable assigned as a, still it is a, char, that's a character, represents only a simple character. It can be a letter, a number, or a symbol, but it only has one character in it. Constant, which are variables that their values does not change. Now when you think of variables are dynamic variables. Dynamic means they change their values during the life cycle of a program. But a constant, it does not change its value. If it's constant max 100 remains as 100 for the rest of the program. So in a variable, a dynamic variable which changes its values. You can change the value of a variable which is assigned as var. Now there are a lot of data types. I have just given a simple example. And then the next cycle is assigning a variable. Once a variable is declared, it must be assigned to a value. So here a, as I knew it's an integer value, I have assigned a to 10, and the constant remains. Now if you really want more, like a character, you can use decimal numbers or a character assigned here. For example, let me just show you. Let's assign a real. Let me take a again. a is equal to a character of a real, that means 3.75, a decimal value. Make sure that you end the line. And again, if I want to add a char, let me just a is equal to a character with a single quote, and you can write let's say a percentage value, which I really want to highlight, and end line. This is how you assign values. A name after a colon equals to the value that you want to tell, and remember the compiler needs to read the line and end, so make sure the compiler will identify the semicolon and it will go to the next line. So end line is very important. Next step of a life cycle is doing arithmetical and logical comparisons as when you want to calculate, the calculations are done. Now here arithmetical and logical are mentioned here. Arithmetical is simple mathematics, simple maths, or arithmetical operators used. Here I am using a is equals to a plus 1, and here if written here, if a is greater or equal to 10, a comparison, and you will find the next is logic statement. If a is greater than b, and I use the AND operator. The logic, as you know, you can remember the three logical operators, the basic logic operators, and or not. So I'm using here if a is lesser than b and c. So you can use operators in the life cycle of a variable. Next, the last life cycle is displaying the result of an identifier. Here I have used write and display the value of a, any value that I have given here. It can be a number, it can be a string, and then write a plus b. I'm trying to add a value of a with the value of b. Make sure you end the line. Write line. Here I use another write line statement, whereas this is write and write line. I'll come back to what is write and write line is, and what's the difference between these two. And I have used a string value. I will teach you what is a write line and what is write as an output when output is given in Pascal. So stay calm, don't worry. You will able to identify what is right between write line. Okay, children. So as you can see, this is the life cycle of a variable. A variable, you have to determine what type of variables that you're going to use in your programming. Once you determine and you are sure about what variables you need, you declare. I can hear sound of firecrackers all around. It's New Year is is dawning. So Subaru Tarudakweva for everybody. Wish you a very happy new year as well. And then as I said, declaring an identifier at the beginning of the program. This is very important. In Pascal we use var, but in other languages there are keywords that they use. So we are only learning about Pascal, so we should remember var and constant are two keywords, and here are the data types. I have given a common name for A, whereas A is assigned to an integer value, a number, whole number, a real, a decimal number. Char is a character, and a constant is a number which does not change its value. It stays remain as 100 for the rest of the program. And then when you assign, the next step, assign the variables or identifiers, make sure that you assign them in appropriate manner using the following method. A colon equals the value that you prefer and end line. And then when you use arithmetical logical comparisons, you use this way. You can use either add a value to a variable or compare a variable with a number, or you can always have a logical expression between A and B or B and C according to the comparisons. So here I have used comparisons and logical statement as well. And then the last part of the life cycle of an identifier is displaying. You have to display the values. So when values are assigned and declared and processed, the last step is to get their outputs. So write line, we use write and write line. So this is what the main picture of a life cycle of a identifier is all about. Next we come to a very important segment. That's what is syntax. Now if you read the verse here, it says, we refer a syntax in a computer programming as a concept of giving specific word sets in specific order to computers so that they do what we want them to do. Now as you are a programmer, you give a specific set of words for them to do. So when you set them correctly, so you will not have any problems. So for you to learn, syntax are like a basic grammar rules, such in English, such as you have a subject, you have a verb, an object on agreement of a correct placement. Either it can be a direct sentence or an indirect sentence. As children, you know how grammar is placed in a correct order. Every programming language uses different word sets. Yes, that is very important because Pascal has a different set of words, and we are to adhere in that order, which means that each programming language uses its own syntax. Yes, if you think of Visual Basics use their own. C# uses their own way. Java uses in a different syntax pattern. For example, I just happened to write a small sentence. I'm not a good teacher in English, but as I know, I have just written here, she, a teacher, Most probably when you look at it you will laugh, saying that you cannot use she a teacher. Then I used she is a teacher. There again you might tell me, sir, there is a mistake here somewhere. You find it out what's the mistake is all about. And finally I write she is a teacher. And you know that in English you have to start with a capital letter first. And remember to end a line. Here we use is as a be verb or a link verb. So as grammar we learn, so should you learn the syntax of computer programming. So with this I go to the Pascal environment. You can always download this version, Easy Pascal. Just go and search for Easy Pascal. It's easy and it's very convenient. And when you install this, you are presented with some of these interfaces. You have the file menu on top, which includes file, editing, view, options, run and help. And then there are some tools which differentiates the programming environment and the output environment. Here is the programming environment and here is the text output environment. So these are two different views, and then you can always use both if you want, the programming out and the output of it, by separating it with two colors. It's easy to understand. The blue color is where you type all your programming concepts, and then out here you will find the output, where what you have written here. So when you run this, you can run pause. You will see it gives me hello world, right line. It has given to me right line. Okay, so when you go to your government book, it says identifiers. Here are the identifiers which you have to remember. An identifier is a term used to represent variables, constant or in a program. That's what I had told you. Following are some rules that you should follow when declaring a variable. Here you are. A reserved word as var. Here is an identifier, and it has given a data type as integer. Reserved words, it says reserved words cannot be used as an identifier. That you must remember. You cannot use var as a variable. Var is a reserved words, mean like begin, end. You cannot use them, are not valid. Okay, you cannot use a minus z as variables. Simple a minus hyphen z, you can't use them. I'll teach you how it works. Should start with an English letter. That's very important. After the first letter of the identifier, you can use numbers if you want. And if you want to separate two words, you can always use an underscore down here as I have taught you. And very specially, Pascal is not a case sensitive, meaning art can be written in, they are all art, either in capitals or either in simple or the first letter capital. There should not be space between any two words. Like student, keeping a space is not valid. That's important. and then these characters cannot be used. Only the character underscore is only considered as a valid character. For examples, valid identifiers are sum, total underscore number, meaning total number may be number 1. You can place after a letter, you can use a number if you want. That's valid. First name, you can use it at if it's convenient to you, or you can use last underscore name. They are all valid. Which are not excuse me, not valid is you can't use a symbol in front, no numbers. You can use page, but here you cannot keep a space here. 9a, no, you can't use a number first. You are to use a letter and then followed by a number. Then the next one is that you cannot use a hyphen within your variable name. I hope you understand all this. And then these are the reserved words. They are not to be used as variables. That's very important. These are some of these keywords in or reserved words in Pascal. So most of these keywords you are going to use them, like do, for, if, go to, case, constant, array. You find lot. So sit back and relax and take one at a time. So it's not going to be a hard subject, it's an easy subject. And the next thing is the data types. When you assigned data types are categorized here. Actually, when a program is executed, the inputs and the output should be stored in a computer's memory. That's what we have learned in computer. The memory is saved, your data saved in your memory, your computer's memory. So for them to keep them in the memory spaces, you have to name them appropriately. What type of data you are dealing with. Very especially if you are to deal with in a program that you have developed all about numbers, then you can always use integer numbers, plus or minus whole numbers, real plus or minus decimal numbers, Boolean, which gives you a Boolean value, a logical value, character, a single letter, a symbol or a number. Make sure that it is wrapped in between two quotes, double opening quote and a single quote for ending. So use a character very especially a string. Make sure that you use within the quote single quotes. If you want to just say A, so opening and the closing. I hope you can understand that. Strings are very, very dynamic, where you can use minimum, you can use a lot, like if you want to write some kind of a message, you can say you can write a lot of words and wrap around. So single quote, it's not limited like char only for a single character. You can use multiple characters using the string data type. So it says here, it's very important that either a char or a string are included inside a single quote. Within that, variables, as I have taught you. What are variables? Variables, it says here, a variable is an identifier which changes its values given to it when the program is being executed. Here are some variables that you can see. Variables are assigned var count integer, var abc real, var n1, n2 as integer, avg average as real, pass as a boolean value, char as a single character, name school. Name comma school are two variables. They go as data type as strings. A variable has a name and it stores values of the declaring type. So you should remember. Constants, the identifier which do not change their values while the program is executed, are called constants in Pascal. CONS. So remember, this value 100 will never change, or the pi value of is made will never change. The arithmetical operation will never change. As you have learned that, always remember observation. It says here, when executing a program, a variable can take different values. That's very, very important. However, the variable of a constant remains unchanged. That's the only thing that you should remember. Operators, you find all the operators of algebra operators. Here are the basic arithmetic operators. Div, dividing a round number here, and the mod is the anything that you divide. So it's clearly understood here. When 20 is divided by 6, what's your answer? And then comparison operators, where you will find all these values are, for example, is 7 greater than 3? It's true. Is 8 greater than or equal to 8? It's true. It's 8 is greater or equal to. It's not greater, but it's equal. It's still true. Lesser than. Is 3 lesser than 2? It's false. So you will find here. At the end, I see it's a very important thing. Not equal to true. So they are the comparison operators. The logical operators, as we have learned the three basic operators: and, or, and, not. I'm not going to cover in this lesson, but I hope you can remember. And then the operator precedence, these are the bottomless rule. Remember, these are very important so that you follow them in order. When you follow them in a proper manner, you will be able to solve these problems very easily. Okay, so go through your book and see whether you get this. So for example, let me just take the first example. Here it says 5 plus 14 mod 4. So as we know, First of all, what do? We use the mod. So 14 mod 4, you get an answer of 12. The remainder is 12. So when 5, remainder is 2. So 5 plus 2, you will able to identify the answer as 7. So if you just happen to see, let's divide 14. Okay, so when 14 is divided by 4, so the answer is 2. So here you will find the remainder is 2. So when you add this together, you get your answer as 7. I hope it is very clear to you. And the last example I would really love to see talk with you. So here you will find a greater or equal to 4. 4 greater or equal to 4, and not in the brackets. We know that bracket comes first. 7 is greater than 9. So when you look at it, you will find the bracket is taken first in place. It's false, not false. And then here another comparison. It's 4 is not greater than 4, but it's equals to true. So true and not false. So what is your answer? Here not false means true. True multiplied by true is true. So you get your answer as true. So let's dive Pascal and identify how you will able to learn very soon and master the Pascal environment well in the next chapter. Bye for now.